Tried the experiment. We're gonna get it right. We're gonna get it right for the audience.
Listen, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of going live.
That's it, man. That's it, man. We love it, man. We love y'all. Welcome to episode 151 of More Than the Title. I'm your host, as usual, Jarrett Thomas, Chief Revenue Officer at Outside the Box Digital. And you know, I got my brother, my brethren, your favorite CEO, Chadeo. What's good, baby?
We in the building, man. G&T, as always, ladies and gentlemen. Grateful and thankful. We got up early this morning, and we looked up to the sky and was like, thank you, man. Thank you for giving us another day to wake up and being able to do what we love to do best, man. And that's bring you guys this amazing content, bring you guys these amazing guests. So we're grateful for that and be with our families, and thankful for all the supporters and everybody out there, man, that's just sending us messages, watching the videos, sharing, reposting. Remember, it takes a village. We are not able to do what we do without the support of you guys. We're thankful for y'all. We appreciate you guys. G&T.
Message.
Starting early. And also shout out to our partners. We're grateful for our partners. Shout out to the Live Podcast Network, the first woman-owned, black-owned podcast network, and the largest black-owned podcast network in the world. So if you want more great content like More Than the Title, make sure y'all scan the QR code, download the app, and half of your subscription goes to your favorite content creator of choice. So if it's More Than the Title, we up there, we moving and grooving on that network, and we love the support that we get from y'all. Shout out to Angel and the entire team. I'm ready to pause. We got an awesome guest. I'm in a great mood. I was playing optimistic before brother came on. So let's give this brother the intro that he deserves and requires.
Let's start the show.
Let's make it happen. So first of all, this brother is the president and CEO of Industrial Bank, which is the largest minority-owned commercial bank in the Washington Metropolitan area and the sixth largest African-American-owned financial institution in the country. The bank was founded in 1934 and served the community for 80 years, providing a wide range of banking and financial services. This brother was raised in the banking community by his grandfather and his father that helped establish the business. He earned his degree in economics from Rutgers, joined the bank in 1984, and became the president in 1993. And under this brother's leadership, the bank expanded to Prince George's County and was recognized for pioneering the use of interstate banking laws in 1994. His accolades include the 2015 Minority Business Leader Award and the DC Chamber of Commerce Lifetime Legacy Award. And his brother is also a minority owner of the Washington Nationals. Let's give it up for our brother, Mr. Doyle Mitchell Jr., y'all.
Thank you very much.
Brother.
That's more than I deserve.
Oh, man, no, that's
never.
Come on, man.
We do that. We do that, Mr. Mitchell. Mr. Mitchell, we got to put some respect on your name. We do that, Mr. Mitchell, because our culture needs to see what success looks like. They need to hear what success looks like so that they can relate to it and understand that it is possible to achieve these things. So we have to give you your accolades, and we will not downplay your success in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Not on this show.
Yeah.
Message.
I appreciate that. You all are right in my lane because I love comedy. I appreciate that. But when people say Mr. Mitchell, I say that was my father. I'm Doyle. So
okay, fair enough.
Whatever you call me,
fair enough.
Just don't call me stupid. That's all.
Fair enough.
Actually, that's a great segue, man. Can you tell us about your early upbringing and the influence your father had on you, man?
Yeah, it's interesting because my father was a real quiet person. I never met my grandfather. My father was a real quiet person. He never said to me he wanted me to be president of the bank. And he was never really hands-on, with grooming me, but he made sure that there were people around me, directors and senior management that, made sure I worked here and I worked there and in various departments, almost all departments in the bank. So I grew up in that. My mother was a music teacher, and in her family there was music, and I actually took to the music side, even though I don't play anything, an instrument, but my cousin did. So I'm really right brain, more creative than what you might think a typical banker is going to be. Figured out that I probably, once I started working at the bank, I realized how much we helped people on a daily basis.
Mm. And
And since I could make a career out of that and make some money, that was a perfect intersection for me to be able to help people and make money at the same time. Do well by doing good.
is there one particular story that stands out from the early days that inspired you to want to get into business? Because I say that as a father, right? Because me and Chad, we got a lot of events. Our kids are doing the editing, the shooting of the content. We're showing them the business. We're working on the digital agency, but we can't get them to have it as a passion, right? It sounds like that you saw it and it became a passion. So what was that moment for you that made you think that?
You know what? I can't think of one specific moment because literally, I mean, we touch people's lives like every day. I mean, we've got 15 to 20,000 customers, you know, over 90 years. We just celebrated our 90th anniversary. And probably almost every day we are doing something for someone. But I can't remember growing up, people saying, hey, you know, your grandfather lent me money to buy my first home. So there's a lot of first in our institution. First homes, first car. You helped me put my you know, grandchild through college, you know, first educations, all those kinds of things. And, you know, then I heard them say those things about my father. You know, he helped me get into business and things like that. And now sometimes people say, Mr. Mitchell, you remember you gave me my first business loan? And I'm thinking, oh, I did? I don't, you know, that was when I was in my 20s or early 30s. And sometimes I can't even remember, but it's those kinds of things. They, you know, and then grandparents tell me grandchildren will tell me how their grandparents walked them into the bank to open up a savings account, you know, 50 years ago. And, you know, we have second and third generation, maybe even fourth generation individuals who have banked with us. And so it's things like that, you know, turnaround stories. You helped me save my house. You helped me save my business, help me expand my business, you know. And then there's little things we do, you know, help an elderly person stave off ne'er-do-wells. You know, their husband died, left them some money, and now she's got people calling, you know, trying to scam her out of her money. And our staff have helped, you know, seniors change their phone numbers to get away from these people, help warn them. We do education about fraud and elder abuse, things like that. And now we've been doing financial literacy in correctional institutions since 2018, and we love it. We've probably touched, I don't know, close to 300 people in different institutions, and now we're back into DC jail doing that. And we just love touching people's lives and, you know, trying to make some money along the way.
So I don't know if I know you want to say. I really want to get into the family story.
I was going to chime in really quickly. I love to hear it, but I love to hear that you guys are going into correctional institutions and teaching financial literacy. But this is after a child has become a teenager and an adult and gotten in trouble, and now they're in an institution. Where's the financial literacy when we are children? Before, I'm not saying you guys, but I'm just saying, like,
I know
the idea is to get us before we get in trouble.
That's right.
The idea is to educate us before we start learning education in a different fashion, and not just you guys. I'm just talking the system in general, right?
Yes.
Even college, right? There's unless you go to a technically financial institution, high school, specialized high school, you're not even taught financial literacy in high school, in elementary school at all. And the moment you get to college, right next to the sign-up booth where you register, is the credit card table where they're giving you credit cards and
Oh
things.
my gosh.
Right?
Yes, I know,
Right?
because I took out a credit card. So did,
Okay, thank you.
so did like 3 of my friends.
Right.
And,
Right.
since I always had a summer job, I paid mine.
Right.
I paid mine, and that was my first piece of decent credit.
Right.
Likewise, other people did not pay theirs. And, they graduate from college and they start off kind of on the wrong foot. You would think education, since the whole point of education from, kindergarten through college is to put you into a profession, you know, and make money. They would teach you, financial
Money.
education along the way. And I think more and more, some schools are teaching it, maybe high schools, but it should really be taught, once you get in the 4th and 5th grade, you should have some sort of basic education around saving money, get your piggy bank, save money, be careful how you spend, things like that. And we teach all ages. All ages. We teach seniors. We teach children in elementary school, middle school, high school. Anybody that asks us to come and do a session, we generally do it and have a curriculum for that.
Right.
Credit repair, savings, investing, home buying.
Yeah.
Which is the way most of us build wealth in this country, is buying and owning a home over a period of time. And we just love to do it because it gives us so much gratification. And we've opened accounts from incarcerated individuals. And we've had some people come out and within a week they come to see us. I mean, it's been just amazing.
No,
And
it's a beautiful thing, Doyle. I mean, like truly, I believe in any type of educational services for people that are incarcerated. If you truly want to rehab a person, if you want them to reform from doing the things that you would consider to be deviant behavior against society, give them a trade, give them something to learn, give them something to put their energy into other than what they were putting their energy into. So I applaud you guys for that. I'm just saying it's almost like the horse chasing its tail. Like, isn't that working backwards? Like, if education is a system based on learning, foundation, principles, then building, because money is, you don't learn that in a day, right? You don't learn money management overnight.
Takes
You don't
time.
learn credit. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So I can understand a course here, a course there, but it's going to be a crash course. It's going to be like, we only have a certain amount of time to kind of teach you as much as we can. It's only going to be so effective instead of like, how do we get in touch with the youth before the credit is damaged, right? Before, if I can get a job legally, and I don't know, you're from DC?
Yes, born and raised.
Okay. And I don't know, I think it's a federal program, but correct me if I'm wrong. We started working legally at around 14. We get what's called working papers. It was like a little green slip you apply for and right around high school. It's called working papers. Then we could work what's called summer youth jobs and stuff like that. Do you guys have a program like that? Okay. So
They in DC, they have a good program named after one of our former mayors.
Okay, so perfect, right? So if let's just call it high school, because normally around 14, you're in high school, 9th grade-ish, right? If by the time I'm in high school, what you're saying to me is I can legally now work, and we all know what that means, that now you're going to take taxes from me and you're going to start garnishing my wages, et cetera, because I'm part of the workforce now, whether part-time or not.
Right.
How is it that you've already sent me to work and not taught me about the money that I'm going to make, how to manage it, how to save it, how to invest it, what the balance of a dollar is, what's the worth versus the world currency? You haven't taught me anything, but you're ready to send me to work and you're ready to take my money, but you've given me no financial literacy education on the money.
Yeah. You had actually figured that it would be in the government's interest to.
There it goes.
There it goes. There it goes.
So you can pay more taxes.
Right.
And they can take more money.
Right. Because the more you make, the more they take, right? So the more
Absolutely.
successful people, the more they take. I think Warren Buffett that just said something think it was Warren Buffett that just said something like the taxes that I paid with my company, you know, Warren Buffett's company alone.
Yes.
He was like, just us. And I think the top 6 companies in the world, if they just use those taxes, nobody would ever have to pay federal taxes, like, period. Just off of what we pay, these top 7 companies, what we pay in federal taxes alone, nobody should ever have to pay federal taxes like after that again.
It's a lot of money.
A lot of money.
But so we love doing stuff like that, and it's probably the most fulfilling thing that we've done professionally. I can't pull people away from it. Not that I've ever tried, but we enjoy doing it. They were on the phone today with a group, and you know, the interesting thing about these groups, many of them are pre-release. These are some of the smartest, brightest, most wonderful people you've ever come across, and you would never think that they would have done the things that they did, sometimes 5, 10, 20 years ago. You know, we pray over them, you know, we love on them, and you know, when they graduate, many times we feed them if they're local, and give them little diplomas. So we enjoy it.
That's fine. I do want to talk. I definitely want to talk about that, but I also want to talk about the access to capital for Black entrepreneurs. But before we do that, Doyle, I would love to hear your father and grandfather's, like, how did they start the business? It started in 1934 after the Depression for a Black-owned bank. What was that like? What was the idea behind us starting Industrial Bank at that time, and how was it like?
Well, knowing banking, I find it hard to imagine that they were able to do what they did in 1934. But there was one reason they were able to do that, is because Black people were more united back then. You know, we didn't have many choices. So in 1933, the President of the United States closed all the banks, because this was right after the Great Depression, kind of at the height of the Great Depression, and you had to prove that you were strong enough to open up. And there was another Black bank in DC that could not reopen, and my grandfather said, we've got to have a Black bank here. We don't have, you know, now we don't have any. And so he got together with some of his business friends, and they went out and sold a little, you know, common shares of stock ownership. And since there was no DC banking authority in the District of Columbia, they literally had to go to the President of the United States and encourage the President of the United States to give our bank a national charter.
Wow.
And so that happened. And what was interesting, you want to talk about a community that was committed to our own businesses. Even some people that lost money in that prior bank lined right back up to deposit money in a new Black bank. Now, today that wouldn't happen. If Industrial failed and another Black bank came along in DC, nobody would be lining up to put their money in that bank. And but they did. And my grandfather was a conservative guy. But back then, you know, you could lean on character a lot. You know, you knew people in the community, you knew their families, you knew their parents. You know, they could make a loan based on, aren't you Matey Johnson's child? Yeah. Oh man, I know that family. Come on in, I'll take care of you.
Yeah.
You know, the business has gotten a lot different than that, because we have, you know, a lot more regulations, you know, a lot more laws and requirements and things like that. But character still makes a lot of difference, depending on who you're dealing with. But, you know, and people were honest back then, generally more honest. I mean, you always had people that didn't want to do the right thing. But I can tell you, honesty in banking goes a long way. You know, if you're looking across the table at someone and you want to lend them money, and you kind of get that feel, you guys know what I'm talking about. You get that feel somebody's running a game on you. You're not going you've lent money to family members and friends, and you like, man, this dude, I'm not.
Hate it.
You know, you're not
Yeah,
getting that money
I'm not a
back,
lender.
You never seeing that money back ever.
right?
I'm a spender, not a lender.
So think if you're lending money as a profession,
Yeah.
it's the same kind of thing. You got to,
Yeah.
okay, is this person telling me everything? They telling me the truth, you
Yeah.
know? And so character goes a long way, you know? If people tell us, I had a bad divorce 3 years ago, I was in a car accident, or, somebody in my family got sick, or I got sick and I couldn't pay my bills, but now I'm better, I'm back. I've got a plan. And then you can look at their documentation, their credit report, and see, oh, okay, all the dates that he told me lines up with how the credit was good, how it, got a little worse, and I mean, he's bringing something to the table, and I mean, we've done loans like that from time to time, and most of them turn out really worthwhile, so character goes a long way. But yeah, no, they got started. My father was 21 at the time. I think he was finishing up Howard University, so he was very involved in the business, young as I was. And when my grandfather passed away in mid-50s, my father was ready to take over. So
I mean,
that's kind of how it happened.
Real, man.
yeah,
Just to have that mindset though, right? Right. We talk about the Black Wall Streets and over here in New York, the Harlem Renaissance, the Black Excellence era, right? For somebody to just go on a limb and all the stars have to align. You have to know the right people to even have a group to even come up and have the right capital finances at that time to
Right.
say we want what are the odds of that, right? And
Well, that goes back into savings and
Yeah.
knowledge about saving money and the value in saving money, and the value in how you spend it, how you invest it. Back then people saved a lot of money, relatively
at the
speaking.
time,
right.
yeah.
So they had, and if they only had $10 to invest, some people put in $10, and every 10 and 20 and $100 counted back then.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, you brought up Harlem. We bought a bank in Newark in 2019, and now we have a branch on 125th Street in Harlem. So
There
I
you
just want
go.
everybody to know that
Okay.
we are in New York and Harlem, and we've got 2 locations in Newark.
Oh man, we'd
that's-
have met you in Harlem, bro.
Yeah, we didn't know that. We go right up to the bank.
That doesn't mean we still can't do that.
Let's do it, my
I
brother.
got a question for you. I know business practices evolve throughout time. But with you guys being so connected to the community, and you talked about somebody coming in and let's say a lending manager or a lending agent sits down with a person, the initial review process of them looking at the paperwork, is that the only approval process? Because I know what the reason I'm asking that is because I know a lot of lending companies now are using algorithms and using a algorithmic formula to punch into a
Yes.
program, and that will spit out what's called like a lending score, and within that lending score will tell you like if it's
Good
to lend it to them, or is it like a bad loan, should you not? Are you guys, what are your lending practices more leaning towards? Is it the intimate person to person and people still making the ultimate decision, or are you using computers, or is it like a hybrid of both?
It's a hybrid of both, but you
Okay.
know what? Our bank, just like most minority banks around the country, most like the other 21 Black-owned banks around the country, we're focused on the neighborhoods generally that we operate in,
Okay.
in those communities. And we know one thing is that there's always the numbers, but there's always a story behind the numbers,
Right.
and so we do a little bit of both.
Okay.
I mean, you can't ignore the numbers, particularly in this regulatory environment. But, I think we do as great a job as anyone else in the country in trying to marry the numbers with the story and what the people are trying to get done. And like I said, the character, in banking, there's character, collateral, capacity, cash flow, capital. There's those 5 C's of credit. We can't do all by the numbers, and we can't do all on character. So we try to blend them both. We have a model that uses some automated scoring,
Okay.
but most, if not all, of our loans get a second look.
Okay.
We don't rely totally on any automated method of lending.
Sometimes you got to just trust the gut and take the risk based on the character and stuff like that, right? Based on what you think the end goal for that loan is, right? Especially for a business.
If you've been in lending long enough, you know that sometimes your gut can really get you through well.
Yeah,
sometimes it's hard to explain to the regulators because they're not looking at the gut; they're just looking at what's in the file. So early in my career, I took some hits because maybe it didn't show that someone could pay, but 9 out of 10 of them paid. So
Then I would love to know this. Then we're on this. What is one of the best bets you've made as far as investment? Like whether a business, what is one of those like, I'm glad we did that, man.
Well, it's been a group of them, particularly earlier in my career, because I was a little less cautious before the regulatory environment got even tougher than it was then. I mean, and it constantly gets tougher and tougher because they just constantly pour more laws and more regulations on the banking process. Usually, most of them apply to community banks like ours, and many of them were really just intended for large banks. But we get covered with all those regulations just like everybody else. But we've done well. I can't mention one or another because there's been many.
Yeah.
But we've done well. You take a couple of hits because you make the wrong decision. Sometimes if you lend money, you're gonna lose money sooner or later.
Right.
But we wouldn't be here if we lost more bets than we won.
Right. Absolutely. Right. Then the best question is, I think the better question, and to piggyback that is, what happened on one of them tough days and those tough moments? How did you keep pushing? You as the CEO, especially if you make a bad bet, how did you keep going?
You just have to make your case, as best as you can. And sometimes you're going to agree with regulators. Sometimes you're not, and you just do what they tell you to do. If they tell you to fix something, you go fix it, because you're not going to really win against the federal government. So you just go fix it. You improve. You try to make your relationship with the regulators better and better. You try to improve where it's gone bad, and they're kind of like lenders. If they feel that you're jiving them, then that's not going to work out good for you. Right. If they feel like you don't want to do what they're requiring you to do, that's not going to work out for you too well. So
that makes sense.
If you want to stay in the business, you have got to make sure you've got good relationships with the regulators, because they're gonna control how you do business, and if you do business.
Right.
I think that I've seen a few banks go out of business because they kept fighting the regulators rather than just get on board and do what the regulators tell you to do.
You gotta listen to him, you can learn something.
We're talking business, Doyle. Let's say first time person that's hearing about your bank. You know how our community works, right? We got to see it to believe it, right? Can you educate our listeners, right? Because let's say I'm a first time learner of your bank. I'm saying all banks are the same. Why should I put my money in a black bank versus this bank? If everything's regulated, then you can only give me the same amount APR wise on a savings account as he can. If everything's regulated, isn't the checking account percentages the same? What does your bank do now to differentiate itself from these other, right, non-ethnic banks to say, come do business with us, to show the community, like to give the community that extra bonus to say your money should be spent with us instead of, or invested with us rather than invested with another bank?
Well, I'll start by saying this, we're not for everybody.
Okay.
If you just want the best rate, then, we're competitive, but we may not always be the best.
Okay.
If you're interested in a company that's going to recirculate its assets and its money back into the community, because if we don't spend money with ourselves,
Right.
then we're never going to get back to where we were in 1934.
Message.
I think we were better off in 1934 wealth wise than we are today. And a lot of it is because we spend our money with other companies that are owned by people that don't look like us. So we lend in the communities that we do business in. We lend to people that do business with us. And we have a saying that money made here stays here.
Mm.
So if you're interested in that, if you're interested in that and you think it's worth something, then I encourage you to come do business with us, because that's what we do. We educate financially your kids. We go to schools, we go to churches, we go to other nonprofits, we go to correctional systems and teach people that look like us how to learn, how to spend your money, how to invest it, things like that. And we are competitive. We give good service. We're doing things every day to try to improve the service, try to improve our digital footprint and things like that. Now, if you just want a transaction, then we're not the place for you, because we are more concerned about developing relationships with our customers. So that's what I would say. And if that's not what you're interested in, you're probably not the customer that we want. We have some customers that do transactions, but it's really not what we're looking for. We're really looking for customers that, okay, we can finance your first home. You can open up a checking account, a savings account with us. We can show you our rewards program by using your debit card. We can welcome you to the family of things that we have to offer that can benefit you and hopefully grow your wealth.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, for us, we're about growing wealth in the Black community. And, I think people that have been with us 5, 10, 15, 20 years can say, yes, I'm better off because of something Industrial Bank did with me or for me, over a period of time.
Right. See, but I think the biggest
and that's why we have 25,000 accounts.
Yeah.
That's why we have people that have been with us for generations. And we've got some great people. If there's something we lack on technology, we got some people that will make up for it. Because you'll walk into our branches and you'll feel the love. You'll feel the love.
See, but that's the thing, right? Coming from the tech sector, though, Doyle, like I'll give you a story. We had Walter Garrett, shout out to our brother. He's the most influential Black man in corporate America. He developed the app, and then he couldn't get the funding necessary to push the app. And we see this across a lot of Black entrepreneurs, is the access to capital. We have a great idea, but we cannot fund this thing, right? So what advice would you give to that young entrepreneur, to our fan, our audience that's listening right now that has that idea, that wants that can bank with you? What are some, ideas?
So let me explain how getting started in business works.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, everybody should, if you have the principle about saving money and one day you want to go in business, you should be saving for it right now.
Message.
Even if you're not going to start for 5 or 10 years. Now, our counterparts, they've got an uncle or a cousin or a sister or a father that maybe can invest. We don't always have that. So it's more difficult. Our counterparts, they go to maybe a venture capitalist or an investment fund and can get that. And thank goodness there are more and more funds that have raised money that are focused on businesses of color, Black-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, and the like. It's hard to get started in business solely going to a bank, because I don't give you capital. You don't get capital from a bank. You get debt, and there's a difference. Capital is ownership. I don't get ownership. Capital is more patient, right?
Long game for sure.
But capital wants 20 and 30% returns, right?
Yeah.
Message.
There you go. Need the somber one for that one.
You know, and capital wants ownership.
Facts.
A lot of our businesses don't want to give up ownership, and I think we need to get a little more comfortable about being able to give up ownership. And I'm not saying ownership to just anyone, and I'm not just saying ownership to people or companies or funds that don't look like us. But you know, I mean, back in my 20s, I could hear people saying, "Hey, you know, Mr. Mitchell, now this is someone that's trying to get a loan from me that I'm having a tough time saying yes." And he says, "Well, you know, I got this guy that wants to invest, you know, 300,000. And let's say this person was in the IT business, had a decent company, but he don't want to give up 40% of his business." And I've said to several people, I'll say, "So you want 100% of nothing rather than 60% of something, or something that can really get you going?" Because in many cases, he's asking me for $500,000 loan, and I probably can't give it to him until he increases his capital $300,000 or $400,000, because he might have $200,000 in capital right now. His whole net worth of his company might be $200,000, and maybe he's asking me for $500,000. And I say, if I do that, I've got more in the business than you do.
Right.
So, you know, as a banker, you know, you can't make those kind of deals. Now, one caution: if somebody wants to buy into your business, I mean, it's like getting married. You really need to know and spend a lot of time with the people that want to invest in your company, so that you make sure that you're getting the right partner. You know, just because somebody's going to invest in your company doesn't mean you should run after the money. You know, you need to make sure, what are the goals? You know, what are your expectations? Because a lot of investors, they want out in 3 or 5 or 7 years.
Absolutely.
You know, with a 30% annual return. You know, see, that's one of the reasons why, and banks are not in the business to lending generally to startups, although we've done some startups. But banks want to take the least amount of risk.
Yep, calculated risk. Yep.
And that's why our rates are lower than any other company, lower than finance company, lower than what venture capitalists want. You know, we might charge you 7 or 8%, and people think that's high. But if, you know, there's investors that they're looking for, you know, double digits and 20 and 30% returns, and they want to get out in 7 years. And the reason why we're supposed to take the least amount of risk is because we're lending depositors money.
Correct. There it is.
Right. We're lending your money, and we can't roll the dice with your money. So we have to be the most conservative, take the least amount of risk. And with the least amount of risk is supposed to be the lowest return. So so it's just something to think about. And there are investor groups out there, more than there used to be, that are looking for businesses of color to, you know, but you got to have your stuff right. You got to have your business plan. You got to have your management strategy. You have to have your marketing strategy. Most Black-owned businesses, they know their business. They know the business that they're in cold, but they don't know how to run a business. They may not know how to put together good financials, which is important. And, you know, they don't go through the process of putting together a well thought out business plan. And it sounds like a check the box thing, having a business plan, but it's not. It's real stuff. Not even so much for the bank, but for the owner themselves to really think out all the elements of a business plan.
That's real.
It's not the easiest thing in the world
No.
to go into business for yourself. It sounds sexy, but it's hard stuff.
Yeah,
it's hard to
connect. It's hard to connect all the dots. Sometimes we have the capital and the business plan, and then don't know the marketing, don't know the go-to-market strategy, don't know how to do these things, right? And sometimes people have the great idea in the marketing, but no capital.
But a lot of people don't put together the
people don't
plan.
even want to work that hard.
Yeah,
that's real too.
They think they do,
until you know
it's 24/7, and some people just want to hang a shingle.
I sit people down a lot, Doyle, and I mentor a lot of people when it comes to like opening businesses and stuff like that. And one of the first things I advise them to do is actually to come up with a business plan, especially if they've never owned a business or even been like management of a business, to seeing how operationally a business works, right? And I explain that to them, and they get a little flustered sometimes, right? Do you guys have an organization like the SBA out in DC?
Yes, I mean the SBA is a national organization.
Okay, right. Okay, just want to make sure, right? Okay, so
there's a small business center that they have.
Okay, yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was just about to mention SBA, because they got tons of free classes.
Free classes, yep. Free classes, yep.
So what all of this.
So what I tell them to do is I say, listen, sign up with the SBA, right? I say sign up with the SBA. What's dope about the SBA in New York is they have so many different offices in so many different boroughs that you don't have an excuse that, oh, but this class is in Manhattan, this class is in the Bronx. I go, no, it's in the Bronx this month, but next week or next month, it's in Manhattan, right? Or it's in your borough. So just wait for that class to get to you in your borough if you have a problem traveling. But there's other classes that you can take in the meantime. So there's a lot of free resources out there, Doyle, that I am truly grateful for as a business owner myself, and for a person that teaches people business as well, that I tell them that go learn business, right? Go learn. Yeah, go learn. Like listen, nobody's going to be perfect, right? I say, but if you don't even understand foundationally how a business operates, you don't know how many times I have arguments with people where I'm like, do you even understand foundationally how a business operates, right? Like what are the different types of businesses, right? What are the different types of roles in business? Like what makes you qualified to run these? And people be looking at me like I got like 3 heads, and I'm like, yo, if you don't even understand that, like, please don't even waste your time, because you're setting yourself up for failure. So I do believe that education is key.
It is.
It is crucial to giving yourself a greater percentage
of success, right? Because business, we all know entrepreneurs.
You got the deep voice. You went deep voice. I don't know what you did just now. Yo, what the heck?
I went Luther on him.
You went Big Luther. Last name Luther.
I went Barry.
Oh man, come on.
You
went Barry White. Come on, bitch. No, you're right. Come on, baby.
So I tell them, the word entrepreneur, French anyway, right? It means risk, right? It means risk. Entrepreneur is based off of risk. So like you said, if you gamble long enough, you're gonna lose, right? So I let people know all the time, like being an entrepreneur, you're taking the gamble anyway, right?
Audio listeners, Darth Vader is giving financial advice.
There's no question about it. I'm a big advocate for accounting. I think every business owner needs to take at least one accounting class.
Yeah.
Because you got to understand your financial statements.
Right.
Particularly when you sit in front of bankers. They want to know that you know what's going on on your financial statements and how you got to where you are.
Right.
I need that voice.
I was gonna say, that should be the regular one. We're gonna have to mute him here.
What happened?
That's the Lenny Green. The Quiet Storm.
I don't know. You went on deep voice and you went into Barry White mode, and
you still sound like Darth Vader. How do we change this? First of all, you need to figure out how we get that so we can make some funny shit out of it. Turn it
I don't
on.
know. I don't know what.
Sound like he stepped into a zone he can't step out of.
Just step out the room, come back and sit down. And Doyle, the funny thing about he was flowing. He was flowing.
I mean, he was right on target.
Right on target.
No question about it. He was right on target. You know, there's a lot of free resources. You know, people being in business for yourself is more than a notion. And sometimes people just say, "Oh, I want to start my own business," and you know, it's a good idea. It's a good dream, but it's more than a notion, and you got to be well prepared. If you haven't been working on your business for at least 3 years before you open the door, you probably jumped out there too soon. I mean, unless you have experience in that field, maybe you worked for an IT company and you're like, okay, I think I can do this myself.
Yeah.
That might be one thing, but even still, if you have experience in an industry, there's still a lot of facets of running a business. There's HR, there's accounting, you know, there's marketing. There's a whole lot of just dealing with employees. You know, there's so many facets of a business that you really need to take time and strategize it. Don't quit that job too soon. So, you know, I've seen husband and wife, one quits their job, one keeps working. Because you might be the last to get paid if you start your own business.
Message.
Yeah,
so there's a lot to it.
Am I back regular?
Back, baby.
Yeah.
Wait. I think I figured it out. Hold on. Let me just see something.
Do I sound different now?
Yeah, the Darth Vader.
I figured it out.
Okay. There you go.
No, I figured it out. I just figured it out. I just figured out what happened. I got you.
Now see, you know what? That's a good lesson.
Yeah.
You know, as someone wants to go in business, things go wrong. You got to figure it out. Take your time, and you come back, and now you're prepared.
Explaining us to a T. That's the story of our life.
That's the story of everybody's life.
You know that, bro.
You know what it is, Doyle? I want to say this, right? I think we've come a long way as far as the culture understanding that we can be better and do better, right? I feel like for a very long time, we doubted ourselves, our self-worth, our self-value on what we could achieve as a culture. And I feel like we're starting to come out of that shell now, right? I think COVID really kind of exploded that. I was reading an article saying that there were more like millionaires made when like Cash App and all these instant transaction things were created before they started taxing it. Right, but right now, before they started taxing it, but when people started really in COVID, when things really shut down and people actually started working from home and actually developing businesses and like, okay, I'm home, I might as well just, you know, get into this thing. We actually kind of like exploded with this thing, but I still believe that there's a lot of gap space, right, between the financial institutions that are out there, the educational institutions that are out there in our community, because it's not only about opening a business. One of the great things I love about SBA is not only about opening the business, it's what happens when your business falls on hard times. Are you going to continue to give me resources and education of when I made a mistake, right? So I come to Industrial Bank, I get a loan, and let's say COVID happened or 9/11 happened, something that I have absolutely no control over, right? Like the bridge in Baltimore, you know, getting hit, and now the supply chain has taken a hit. I'm getting my product slow, etc. I might not know how to deal with that. I might not know how to, you know, what's the continuing process past the loan? Does your bank now go in and say like SBA, like, hey, we're willing to help you through this. We're willing to give you continued education and continued resources to help you through this, right? Disaster relief. Do you guys do things like that also?
Yes, we did. We did a lot of that through COVID. There was the PPP program, which was a national program. There were the District of Columbia had a couple of different programs where they used us to distribute some of their money to businesses. It's a good thing you brought that up because, you know, when things happen as a business owner, if you already have a loan with a bank or anybody, or you're just with investors, when things go wrong, you need to tell them. You know, you need to tell them. You need to tell them what happened. You know, hopefully, maybe you have a plan, or what can I do? Blah blah blah. But there's nothing wrong telling a bank that you pay every month or whatever, that something went wrong, because we're going to find out sooner or later. Because you know, the next time you submit us financial statements, you know, and we require financial statements at least on an annual basis. If your revenues drop or something happens, your expenses go up, you know, in the renewal process, we're going to ask what happened. So it's best that you're honest, like we talked about character. And, you know, most Black banks I know of, if not all, are patient. You know, we're patient and we're reasonable. You know, I think the only time we ever come down hard on companies is when we think we're being, you know, being avoided,
Yeah.
right?
Makes sense.
Or somebody's not dealing in good faith. You know, I think if people are communicate with us, they keep us up to date. They, you know, usually most business owners have a plan. Well, this is what went wrong. This is what I need to do to kind of right the ship. I think we've always been patient enough to work through people, because it doesn't help us to try to force somebody out of the bank, you know, and that's not what we're about anyway. But you just got, communication is really important with your banker. You know, you need to think of us like family, like your spouse. You know, come and tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, either before it happens or after it happens. You know, it just depends.
Accountability is hard for some people.
To say this too, while I've been so practical, I don't want to sound like a Doyle Downer on starting a business, because I mean, what I have seen in the last 5 and 10 years is more Black-owned businesses starting and doing things that I haven't seen before. When
Okay.
I grew up, you know, I saw, okay, there's doctors, there was lawyers, there were dentists, you know, there was companies doing IT integration, some doing home improvement, some in construction,
Yeah.
things like that. But I'm seeing Black-owned businesses do things I've never seen before. I mean, wine brands, spirits brands, watch designers, you know, clothing designers and manufacturers. I mean, just making all kinds of things. It's like, you made that, you know, and I'm loving it. And young people. I mean, there's more different types of Black-owned businesses now than I think I've ever seen. And I think if people think about it, they can do it. And I'm watching that happen. I'm like, I've never seen a Black-owned business make a water bottle. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want that water.
Facts.
No, I'd rather have that water than this water.
Yeah.
And I think it's so cool.
Unless it's coming from Flint.
We
We got to check the location. We got to check the location.
I do it, but like you said earlier, right? For our community, we got to see it to believe it. What are you guys doing any events in the community to bring some of those vendors together so we can make sure that they're getting new business, getting their things out there? Like, say for instance, in Harlem, is there any plans for an event out there to bring Black-owned businesses together?
Actually, we celebrated our 90th anniversary down here in DC. We're gonna do a little soiree in New York, I think in November, and sometime in late November, we're gonna do something to celebrate in Harlem as well. And so what we did in DC was we used a Black-owned caterer. We did it at a Black-owned venue, the Howard Theater. We highlighted two Black-owned spirit brands. One was, and I'm not advocating drinking, but if you're gonna drink, find somebody who's Black-owned that you can buy the liquor from. One was tequila and one was a whiskey.
Come on.
So yes, we like to do stuff like that, and we're going to highlight. And most of these people are our customers. We're going to do that in Newark, and we'll let you know when we do that in Harlem as well.
I love to bring the lemon pepper steppers. You ready? You ready? I know cuz already.
Listen, I got some pants that show the ankles that's dying to come off the hanger. So Doyle, I got another question for you. Like, and I'm talking to you because I know a lot of our lenders are not very banking savvy, right? And they're looking for advice on, like, again, the differences in understanding economics and investments, right? Back in the day, I remember that one of the ways that we used to save was my grandparents used to buy the bonds, right? You buy it for like $10, it appreciates to like $25, the savings bonds, right? And things of that nature. We don't really see any of those nowadays, right? Also, back in the days, the savings account differentiated percentage-wise drastically from the checking account. But nowadays, savings accounts, their interest rates, at the rate of which you gain interest on your money is so low at this point. A lot of the times people ask me, like, what is the even purpose of having a savings account at this point when the checking account and savings account is almost the exact same thing? Do I put my money in a CD? And I let them know, well, you can, but if you break it, there's a severe penalty. So for a person that's actually looking in this day and age now to try to begin the process of saving some actual money, what would be some great recommendations from you as a great platform starting off to, like, say, okay, step one, let's do this, and this is why?
So, I'm an advocate of starting with something that's simple that you can understand.
Right.
So if it's a savings account and it's only paying you 0.5%, start there. Accumulate enough money, eventually go to a CD. Once you do a CD, and some CDs, they do allow you to make a withdrawal or break it without the prepayment penalty. Some of them don't.
Right.
Then there might be a money market account. Once you understand what's, okay, so what's a money market account? A money market account is generally government short-term securities that collectively pay you a certain amount. I'm a fan of mutual funds.
Okay.
And we don't offer mutual funds, but I'm a fan of mutual funds. I have 3 of my daughters in mutual funds. So mutual fund is the way to get into the stock market with not just picking one stock, right? Mutual funds have hundreds, if not thousands of stocks. So if one stock goes belly up, so what? You've got 400 other stocks, and it can mirror what the stock market is doing. The stock market over time is 12% every year. Now, you've got to have a stomach for mutual funds because some years you might lose 17%.
Yeah.
Other years you might make 24%, but over the last 70 years, the average has been 12% a year. And if you're in a mutual fund, you have a risk of fluctuation in the value, but you don't have much risk of a loss because your risk is spread out over 500 or more companies. Now, there's tons of different types of mutual funds. I put them in one that mirrors the S&P 500. So if they want to look at it on TV, they can see how much it went up today, how much it went down, But once you get into the stock market and investing in mutual funds, if you don't have the stomach to wait out the losses, then you probably shouldn't be in it. Because you'll sell when it's low, and then you'll miss the chance when it goes back up. When I put them in a mutual fund, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, the market went down almost right away, and I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to teach them this lesson of waiting it out? Well, my oldest daughter, she said, well, what should I do? I said, well, it went down 15% last year. What you should really do is put more in. And she's like, huh? I said, well, once it goes down,
Get it while it's low. It got to come back up. Yeah. Get it while it's low. Yeah.
exactly. And you know, the market has turned around this year and done very well. Um, uh, if you have a job and it's got a 401k, you should be maxing out in that 401k, because most 401k have a match to it. You know, many companies will match you up to like 3%. So if that means $200 is going into your 401k every paycheck, they're giving you $200 to go in it as well. That's 100% return. 100% return. If they match 1%, you should at least put in that 1%. That means if you put in $100 and they put in $100, that's 100% return right off the bat. So if there's a 401k that matches, you need to put in at least the same amount of money that they're going to match.
Message.
Some companies will match like the first 2%, and then they'll give you
They'll cap
50%
it. Yeah, they'll
Yeah.
cap it.
of the
Yeah,
next
they'll cap
2%.
it. Yeah, they'll cap it.
Something like that.
Yeah.
That's like a 75% return on your money right away. Some people say, oh, well, I'll have less money to spend. You know what? You probably should have, depending on your situation, you probably should spend less anyway and save for your future. I mean, you could save if you start working at 25 at a company that's got a 401k, you probably could save $1 million by the time you want to retire or the time you want to start a business. So
Message.
you can't turn down a match on a 401k. That's an easy way to save money. Now, if you take it out early for purposes that they don't allow you to, of course, you have to pay a penalty, and then you'll have to pay taxes, blah, blah, blah. But it's still, even if you did that, you've got the money to pay the taxes and the penalty if you've saved enough. And that might be a way you get started in business.
Yeah. And I see our brother just asked, what about Roth IRAs for retirement?
You know what? I'm not an expert in all of them, but IRAs give you a tax deduction.
Okay.
So, you know, we talk about paying taxes. That's a tax deduction. It's a credit right off the top, you know, so that helps. Plus it gives you a rate of return. You know, I think it's kind of like other plans. You have to keep the money in there so long, or you get penalized, and then of course you have to come back and pay the taxes on it. So
I like the 401k. I just think that they need to up the maximum allowable donation.
Nice.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? Because I think that would be phenomenal, because I really like the idea of the 401k, but you know, there's the max a lot of times is so low that you max out so fast that it's like, okay, well, you're done for the year, and it's kind of like that's it for this year. So I would just like to see the federal government possibly, you know, really think about giving a significant increase to the amount that, again, even though the employer is matching your donation to a certain extent, it's still you putting your money in there.
Yeah.
You understand? So it's like, why are you capping me so low for me to invest my money into this thing when you don't put these caps onto these other things? IRAs and Roth IRAs, they're cool. I think the only really big distinction for me that I tell people is either pre-tax or post-tax on how you want your money taxed, right? Do you want them to tax the money before they put it into the IRA account? So that's one IRA. Or do you want to put the money in tax-free and then have them tax it on the back end when they take the money out, or you take the money out, etc., and things of that nature? But I really like the 401k.
I'll say two things to that. And this came from a financial advisor. He said, don't let the tax tail wag the dog.
Okay.
Bar. Hold on.
You know, so if it's a good decision, you know, consider the taxes later, And then the other thing I would say is, don't be afraid to start small. The Bible says, despise not small beginnings. Just take a little baby step, and just keep doing that. And sooner or later, you'll be able to take some big steps. It may not seem like it's a big tax deduction. And hey, to you and me, it may not be, but for somebody that's not making a lot of money yet, it might be significant. What I get is, well, I don't make enough money to do that. Well, go back and see how much money you've spent over the last 3 months on things that maybe you shouldn't have bought.
That are frivolous. Yep. You know what? You know what I want to say to that?
We got to pay some bills. We'll be right back.
We gotta pay some bills. So right now, we gotta get rid of deductions, right? You want good content like this, good financial advice, at least get you a shirt, get you a mug, get you a hoodie, get you a how to build relationships and revenue course authored by me and Chadeo to learn how to build your brand, how to go to places, how to end up building your brand online without much investment, and just really having an inbound engine that really feeds your family and create generational wealth. That's what we on. But damn, that shit made me want some. I'm gonna leave it up there just for a little more because we need a little more. Doyle, I hope you don't mind, brother. Because we got.
No, I actually just took a picture of it by the way. So
we gonna get you.
We talk about the importance of keeping our money within our community. Absolutely. Right. We talk about increasing the number of times the dollar bounces around our community before it leaves our community.
You about to go somewhere that I really, really love going.
There you go.
I'm just saying, Doyle, like I think one of the things that made the Black Wall Streets possible, right? All of these, the 1930s, when everybody was sticking together was because the money stayed within the community, right?
That's right.
We went to our own dry cleaners, we went to our own supermarkets, our own, butchers, etc. Right? So it's such a difficult thing to try to like bring up to people that are raised in a community where we do not see businesses opened in our community that look like us. For example, we come from urban, the projects, right? In New York, the closest ethnic, air quote, ethnic store in the projects is the bodega.
Yeah.
Is the bodega. And really, right now, it ain't even the bodega because a lot of the bodegas are owned by Arabs now because they've already realized how much money that the bodega actually brings in, and they've started buying them now. See, before at least they were like Spanish owned or ethnically, within a type of Spanish, hence the word bodega. But other than that, if you think about every other store in our neighborhood, just growing up, before you even understand this, the laundromat, the liquor store, the corner store, right? They're all owned by people that do not represent our culture. So it's like you're growing up not even realizing that you're being programmed to give your money away initially to everybody else. So when we try to educate people and say, let's keep it in there, then people are saying, like Jarrett said, well, I want to open a business. I can't get funding. I can't get this. Nobody's supporting me, right? Yeah. What we like to do, Doyle, we have a show that's called Fan Appreciation, right? Like you said, your money spent here stays here. We go to Black-owned businesses and we do this show live from the business. The business, absolutely. Once a month from the business. We go live with the owner in their establishment to show the community, just in case you didn't realize that this business was here, this business is here. But it's also the education factor that we got to understand. It's like, so let me get this straight. You don't want to spend your money with me. I have the same product, probably at a cheaper price than what you're going to go spend it with somebody else. Look, it's a celebration. and yet you are willing to still go and spend your money with somebody else because of the programming of what? You don't want to give me money and see me be successful because then you think, what, I'm gonna act like I'm better than you. Like, it's a lot of social programming that I think we have to get past also, right? But we're finding it that the most stores that get the most business ethnically really are like the barbershops, right? The barbershops and maybe the liquor store, right? Things that are like urban tied directly. But other than that, it's very difficult to get support from the community. from your own people when you're trying to open up these ventures to allow them to spend money within the community and for you to, you know, reciprocate it back.
We experienced that ourselves as a black
Yeah.
business. So for Doyle, for instance, right, our biggest platform are YouTube and TikTok, and those are platforms where nobody knows us. But you know, with my cousin on Instagram and the one up the block, my peoples and them that I known for 20 years, we'll put up a clip of you and we'll get 3 likes. We won't get a share with the information that's needed to get out, but your post Cardi being offset, right? Because the black business and we've been socially programmed to think the black business means lesser quality for some reason, or the crab in the barrel mentality. If we go to a clothing store or something like that, or I don't want to do business with this person, and it's got to stop. But we got to make it cool. We got to see. I don't know. I don't know if we don't like to see people succeed in our community. I love when we just need to stick together more. And it's hard to do that and make it sexy and make it cool. And everybody's joining forces and pooling resources. I told you off show, right? We don't gatekeep.
Yeah, well, you all are doing the right thing, because one, you're taking the platform that you have and you're advertising another business, and you know that kind of works against the whole attitude of why should I be supporting this black business or that black business. You're saying here it is, here's a black business, come use them. That's what we did at our celebration. We do it quite often. I do it a lot. You know, I had on a suit made by a black guy at the celebration. You know, I told you we had caterers and all of that. I can't remember the name now, but there's, you talk about liquor stores. Licenses of liquor stores, I would challenge you to find out just in the Bronx or in Brooklyn, how many licenses for full standing liquor stores are owned by black people.
We actually did one in a liquor store. I'm going to send you the episode. My cousin owns one.
Out of 160 liquor stores in Prince George's County, Maryland, and this is the second wealthiest black county in the country, there's none. There's one that just got their license because other ethnic groups have bought them. And when people sold, they buy them. And when they sell them to their friends.
Yeah, it's like the taxi medallions.
Yeah. But the good news is there are more black-owned businesses, retailers and other types of businesses that are really coming online by younger people than me, you know, that we can point to. You got to do some work. I mean, you know, for your audience, just Google black-owned businesses. You know, pull up U.S. Black Chambers. U.S. Black Chambers has a platform where it lists tons of different black-owned businesses. Find them. Ask your friends, who are they? Do you know black-owned cleaners? You know, do you know black-owned restaurants? You know, and if you have a bad experience, don't go home and talk about them. You know, politely go to the manager or the owner. So, you know what, here, this is what I experienced. You know, sometimes they don't know what's going on in every area of their business. So, so saying, hey, you know, I want to patronize you. I'm coming back, but this is what I experienced.
Message.
I don't know everything that goes on in the bank.
Yeah.
And when people politely complain, I like, thank you. Thank you. I needed to know that. Because maybe I wasn't aware of that. Maybe the person over that group is not aware of that either.
So real.
You know, but just don't curse me under your breath and walk away. You know, see, we got to change the way we deal with each other. You know, we should be dealing with each other in love, not in spite. Yeah.
Oh, you got to say it.
Same time. We hit at the same time. That was too real.
Because we're really about each other, and let's really try to help each other.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the good news is there are more and more businesses of color opening up. We just have to find them. I mean, if you want a black-owned doctor, they're pretty easy to find. Lawyers, pretty easy to find. If you want a black-owned cleaners, I don't know where to find one, but Google it, see what comes up.
Yeah, it requires putting in the work, and sometimes
you never know.
Easy.
You never know. I bet one or two of them come up. Now, if you got to drive a little further, then maybe, how much are you about it? Are you really about it? Are you really about it if it's convenient, or are you really about putting your money back in the Black community?
Message.
We have driven further to a Black-owned cleaners, and probably my wife has probably driven past 5 different cleaners to go to one particular one that's Black-owned.
That's it.
If you're about it, you're about it.
I respect that, but I gotta play devil's advocate, Doyle. People in our communities are really struggling, Doyle. They're really struggling. And with the price of, everything just skyrocketing nowadays.
Price of gas.
Just eggs and milk.
Everybody may not have that luxury.
The ability to do that, right? Listen, to be honest with you, Doyle, like, when we were growing up in these communities and things of that nature, right? It was the fact that things were so convenient to us that actually saved us. Because if we actually had to go travel for some of these services, we probably would not have made it or ate or done these things. It was the fact that they were so convenient that actually saved us. So I just got to play devil's advocate there. Like a lot of people, and I said this, I think I'm gonna start saying this, right? I said this on a 2 shows ago. Like I truly believe that most people wake up every day trying to do their best, right? Yes. They are trying to do their best, but society right now is just overloading us. It is an overload to deal with what the world is giving you, the politics, your job, your family, your health. It is just a complete overload, Doyle. And I think people are just trying to find a way not to drown, but to still kind of do the right thing, right?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But I'll just say this. For those of us that, everybody's feeling it. Yeah. I feel it. My wife feels it. She goes to the grocery store. Things are different. But for us that have the ability to do that, and there's a lot of us out there too. Let's try that. Let's think about that. Okay, so she's got the luxury to go past 5 cleaners. Maybe somebody else doesn't. If you don't, then I get that. But if you can make that choice, it's really the folks with money that need to be doing this more than the average individual. And sometimes Black folks with money are the ones that now feel like they want to shop over here where the white folks are and all the expensive stuff. So the better we do, I think the more committed we should be to do just what we're talking about.
That's real.
I wouldn't expect somebody to get on a bus and go miles out of their way. That my message is not for them. My message is for the Doyle Mitchells of the world.
That's real.
You said we were going towards the topic when I was talking about, the balance of a dollar.
Just spend the money in our community, man. Spend the money in our community.
Yeah.
Let me give you some sad statistics.
Yeah, please.
We have Black people have $1.3 trillion in spending power.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's growing.
Yeah.
And we only spend 3% of that with Black-owned businesses. 3%. If we could just spend a tithe, just 10% of that, not only would we employ close to 1 million more Black people, that's a lot of people off the streets.
Yeah.
But we would change our situation as Black folks exponentially, just 7% more, just a little bit. It would make a huge difference. You know why, in my opinion, this is my opinion, why companies have now started putting, after George Floyd, all the commercials got somebody of color in it.
Yeah.
They mixed it all up. Why? Because people would start talking about, why should I spend my money with these corporations, and why don't we support more Black businesses? They didn't want our money to go elsewhere. That's what it is. Boy, you would have companies jumping off out of windows if they lost 15% of their revenue.
Absolutely.
That's a fact.
And most corporations, they're probably supported. We probably 10 to 15% of their revenue or more.
Come on.
50% of the domestic Hennessy sales comes from Black people.
Message.
You sure it's only 50%? Because we in the hood.
I would thought 74.
Like 76%. Yeah, that's only
83 sound about right.
you need to cut the projects.
Feels like it, doesn't it?
He said once they got Nas too, it was a wrap.
Because every Black home you go in got some Hennessy.
Right.
Man, people at Hennessy would be shooting themselves
Right.
if we took that money and put it
Right.
in a Black-owned brand.
Right.
They're starting to do that now. Fawn Weaver with the whiskey brand.
What's the big one two words they just got the big deal. They just signed a big deal.
I know the CEO now. I can't think of the brand. Sorry.
I think is it a whiskey? I think it's a whiskey. I think
Black
it's tied
owned.
to Jack Daniels, right? It's tied to Jack.
Uncle Nearest.
Uncle
There you
Nearest.
go.
There it is.
Uncle
But I said two words
Yeah.
there. Uncle Nearest. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not attacking one particular company over
Right.
another.
Right.
I'm just saying, we got to get real about what we're spending and where we're spending it. And we've got to be very intentional. If you can't afford it, you can't afford it. If you get to a point that you can make choices, then make the choice, and think about where you spend money every day. I mean, you're not going to spend money every day with a Black-owned company, but the other day I went to a Chick-fil-A that's Black-owned.
There you go.
Right.
We go to Lido's, that's Black-owned.
Right.
Now we don't have to go far because there's one down the street.
Right.
Yeah.
But you have to think about that. I think the first thing is just being conscious every day. Oh man, I spent $76 today. Where? And you got to do it every day and just so it becomes a part of you. And then you have to figure out, okay, well, where are the Black-owned businesses? We'll do some work. Do Google. There's a Black chamber somewhere in New York, right? So
there's a
just have to
company
be
called Buy
conscious.
Black also, buyblack.org, and they have tons of just Black-owned companies. They specialize in the beauty supply industry and stuff like that, and
Fourth Ave Market too. Shout out to Salim. Fourth Ave Market, the largest
Fourth Ave Market. Yeah.
Yeah.
We talk
They're
to a
out there.
lot of people. Yep, we talk to a lot of people, and we try to get them connected. I think it's just, what it is, Doyle. It's just like, that's why we thank you for coming on the show, and that's why we give you your accolades. It's to bringing the awareness to the community, right? It's like aggressive marketing, right? Just like anything else, right? Aggressive marketing. We have to continually say, there's products here, there's Black-owned stores here, there's Black-owned businesses here. You understand? Right. We have to just keep almost till it becomes annoying to a point where it's like we have to force it into your brain so that you can understand that we need you guys to start doing this. We need to do this as a people because this is going to help us all around, not just benefit obviously the person that has the business because they've put in their money to create the business also, right? So they're doing the work, but it benefits us as a community and as a culture because the more we are successful as a whole, as a people, then the more power that we'll be able to weld.
Absolutely. And you know what? You all are doing it too. And I think the more you do it, I think the average Black person was not going to be annoyed about it. I think the average Black person is going to be like, I mean, there might be a few percent that are annoyed about it, don't want to hear it. Naysayers going to talk about how bad experiences they had here and there. But if we're not going to do it, we can't complain about our situation. I mean, there's a lot of reasons our situation is as bad as it is. Absolutely. And we could talk all day about, what happened 20, 50, 100 years ago, 200 years ago. And that's unfortunately, that's where we are, but day by day, if you keep doing what you're doing and I keep doing what I'm doing, we can change one life at a time.
There it is.
Yeah, brother.
on life
I love
right
it.
Yeah.
Yo, I gotta ask you. I'm debating. We asked several questions that we ask all of our guests, especially the major successful ones, right? I want to know this one. This one goes on YouTube. What was it like? What was it like for you when you made your first million? And how did you manage that?
You said made my first million?
Yeah,
I'm
made your
still
first
trying to
million.
make my first million.
There you go. I ain't mad at shit. I'm trying to get to the yams, huh? But we gotta, what, like, how did that go? Like,
I will say this: when I was named president when I was 30 years old, and here's the thing you got to be careful about, because the more money you make, the more money you spend.
there you go. Yeah.
And probably within about 5 years, and I wasn't really making that much money back then. We had, before I was named president, we had no credit card debt. My wife, we're not using any credit cards. If we used them, we paid it off. We paid for everything in cash, and literally back then it was cash. It was no debit card. 5-6 years later, now we got these credit cards and these balances and 18% and all of that. So, we as Black folks, you got to be careful, because when you start making a lot of money, you'll spend it, because now you can buy things that you've always wanted.
There.
Message.
You got to be really careful, because you'll find yourself upside down in a hurry. I know, because I look at financial statements for a lot of people that I think make a lot of money, and they do make a lot of money, but their situation is probably no better off than when they were mid-20s, because they got tons of debt. We had a guy wanted to buy a house. He wants to buy a house. He's got a $2,200 car note.
Oh, he's driving around a Lamborghini or something like that.
No, he's driving around in his house. That's what he's driving around at.
I'm just saying though, for 2,200, they got
that was real. That was real.
Like that. I love. I'm just saying, but 2,200, you got to be in something 200,000 in the 200,000 range.
Do we need to show off what we got that bad?
There it goes.
No, he needs to go sell the car, get something else, so he can qualify for the house. You know what a lot of really rich white people do? You would never know they're rich, because they're walking around in jeans and tennis shoes,
I know,
driving a 12-year-old car.
Yeah.
And they're loaded, because they don't. I don't know.
If it's 580,
what
he got a Toyota Camry.
Was, but it probably was right about there, maybe a little bit higher. So there's no need for us to show off what we got.
That's real.
Not to that point anyway. So
no.
My only thing to that, Doyle, is, again, when you don't have anything, when you are used to having nothing, it doesn't matter what culture, it doesn't matter what color you are. If you give a people deprivation and they don't have anything, et cetera, the moment they start getting things and they understand that there are nicer things out there, it is just human nature for you to want something nicer and to experience things nicer, right? Now, I will say, with us, I will give us a little credit to say that a lot of us put value in different things, right? I know people that love cars, right? I know people that they don't buy cars. They love their house. So their house is immaculate, right? And then some people love jewelry. I just think that
people like different things.
Right. I just think in that aspect, we just have to give each other just a little bit of like leeway to say, listen, man, everybody has to kind of get some type of enjoyment in life.
I get it.
And most people are gonna work like worker bees until you retire or pass away. So give them something to kind of make it worthwhile of the mundane, getting up every day for 30 years and doing the same thing, breaking your back. You know what I mean? Like, we gotta
one of the guy that was a caterer, I'll put him out there, named Carolina Kitchen.
Okay.
Guy named Lance London. He likes cars.
Right.
He likes clothes. He's got some nice clothes, got a nice house. But this is one of the hardest working people I've ever seen. I've ever seen. You know, when he opens up a restaurant, he designs it and decorates it himself.
Right.
And sometimes he's sleeping in the building.
Yeah.
Who does that? I don't know anybody that does that. You know, and usually I see him, he's got on, you know, a half decent sweatsuit because he's been working and all of that. You know, when he comes out, he looks nice, he's dressed nice, he driving nice and all of that. But he works hard.
Right.
Works hard. We just got to be careful about not working so hard and wanting to be so flashy. I'm not a car person.
Right.
I don't have a problem with somebody that likes cars. That just wasn't me.
Right.
But no, I hear you and I feel you on that.
Yeah.
You know,
And
we did this is 20 years ago. I got invited out with an insurance guy, an accountant, to Washington Redskins facility, their practice facility. Unfortunately, they lost the day before, and you know, football players are they're ugly people when they lose. I don't care who they are. It's just too hard. It's too tough. They don't like losing. Anyway, there were several older players and one retired guy that said, "Man," and I was talking about managing money and all that, and many of them said, "You know, I wish I heard about this when I was younger." Because, you know, it just breaks my heart to see people just blow money and then not have it. If you buy the nice cars and the flashy house and all of that, that's cool. Make sure your credit score is not 580, you know, and you have some investments, right? You know, you got some cash and you're set up for retirement,
Yeah.
you know. Make sure you parlay that money into something other than just spending. And a lot of those lessons come, which we don't get. We're finishing where we started, right? Education when you're young, you know, because a lot of the kids that make it big in sports that do well have been well grounded. I mean, we know a lot of them don't have parents, don't have fathers, they don't have the education. Some of the ones that do well are really well grounded, got good family structures and all of that, and have learned somewhere along the way how to save money. So for everybody who's listening, teach your kids how to save and how to spend when they're young, and they'll amaze you when they're older.
that's real, man.
Yeah.
And I would love to. I know we're coming up on time too.
Yeah.
I want to ask you. I definitely want to ask you about because I asked Paxton this story, and you have the same story as him as far as like, yo. I was like, "What's the biggest lesson you learned?" He's like, "Man, save your money, man, because at the end of the day, you never know when the right opportunity is going to come." And he told me the story about becoming an owner of Washington Nationals. So I would love to know, what was your story? How did you become an ownership of the Nationals group?
Well, you know, it's funny. Well, first of all, saving your money is
It's
true.
real. Yeah.
It's true because you never know what might come your way,
Yeah.
or you never know, you might decide to go into business for yourself, and you've got to bring something to the table. But it was interesting. DC, you can imagine, is a very political town, and so Major League Baseball said that they were moving the team from Montreal because the Montreal Expos had failed and the league had to take the team over. Then they said, okay, we're going to move the team. They decided they're going to move it here in DC, and everybody got all up in arms. Everybody wants in. And Major League Baseball said, we've got to have some minority owners. Didn't say how much, but just got to have some minority owners involved. And so at first there was like 16 different groups. And they were talking to the city council and the mayor, and Major League Baseball said two things. We're not going to play this out in the media, and we're not going to play this out in politics. So I got invited to one of the groups, and I said, I'm out of here. I don't want to do it. There's gonna be a beauty pageant. There's gonna be a political. I don't want to have anything to do with it. This is a true story. This is how I know it was all God, because that was like in September, and the guy called me like every month, and I wouldn't even pick up his calls. So the number of groups went from like 16 to 8, and then 8 to 4. And the group I was originally part of was one of those 4 or one of those 6. And I said, okay, your odds are getting a little bit better, Doyle. You don't be stupid. So I called him back, and then someone else, another friend of mine, said, I want you to come meet with this other group. And I said, well, I'm kind of in this group. He said, oh, it's just a meeting. So I said, okay, I'll go. When I got in there, they acted like I was part of the group. They said, okay, this is how it's going to be run. We're going to be the lead people making the decisions and blah, blah, blah. And we'll be in charge. And I was like, oh, he sounded like I'm part of the group. I just walked in the door. Well, it just so happened that group was the Learner family. And the first group I was a part of was Stan Kasten's group.
What's the odds of that?
Wow.
Stan Kasten had the managerial experience running a baseball team and sports franchises. The Learners had what Major League Baseball wanted, that family, long money. So when they decide who's going to get a sports franchise, they, particularly basketball, football, baseball, hockey, they want somebody with some real long money that's been around for a while, and then who's going to run the team? Because, the Learners, they're in real estate. They don't know anything about running a baseball team. And then the 6 groups came down to 4. And I would think I was the only African-American in 2 different groups.
You hedging your bets?
It's real, man.
You got the left foot in, the right foot in.
I mean, I was just watching from afar. But here's one of the things that let me know I was in the right place. When I walked in the Learners group, I saw James Brown. Y'all know JB?
Okay. Yeah, JB the analyst, right?
Yeah.
Whether you know it or not, James Brown and I went to church together. We used to go to the same church 30 years ago. And James Brown is a dedicated, hardcore, sold out Christian brother.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I gotta be in the right place. I'm like, Lord, what are you telling me? And what happened was eventually Major League Baseball made the announcement that Kasten's group and Learner's group had come together and were merging. Wow. So now there was only 3 groups. And when there got to be 3 groups and those 2 groups came together, I knew it was a done deal.
Right.
I knew it was a done deal. And meanwhile, in the newspapers, they were calling us rented blacks because we went to the Learners group, and they were just dogging us out,
right?
Because they thought they could play it out in politics and in the media, and that's not how Major League Baseball worked. So I tried to stay away, but things just happened, and so in the end, we were in. So that's how it happened from my perspective.
I love it.
What a story, man.
I love that.
Oh man, what a story.
That's gospel. That's gospel.
Well, I mean, if we would have known that, if we'd have known that you went to church and everything like that, and you were gonna, give us that story, then please be clear, we are always ready for those type of stories. Doyle, come on, baby. I wouldn't
have told you if I didn't think you were ready for it.
I'd have gave you the music. I'd have gave you the music.
We have a reason to pray. Let your feet speak.
Yeah. Then we were always ready. That's the smile right there. That's the smile right there. There
Well,
it is.
you know what?
Yeah.
I know from where comes my help. That's for sure.
Right.
None of this. You can't make up
Yeah.
a 90-year-old. And there's 5 banks that are black banks that are older than we are.
Right.
But I'm just saying, you can't. There's only 22 black-owned banks in the country out of
Right.
more than 4,000 banks,
Right.
and 6 of us are like 90 years old and older. You just can't make that up.
Right.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
So
message, man. That's so real, man. I got so many items. We're gonna start the group chat. What we do, Doyle, all
Yeah.
about guests. We start the group chat. Any opportunities, we don't do gatekeeping stuff. And like you said, we want to build relationships. So we're gonna start the group chat, me, you, and Cuzzo. I'm already thinking of some stuff because we actually have the #1 draft pick coming on in a couple of weeks to talk about financial literacy. Greg Oden.
Okay.
Greg Oden,
He's coming on. So talk about
Great.
from the NBA, if you make 24, 30 million, well, how do you manage that money? What bets do you make? And we really want to just educate the athletes, the young professionals going in that league. So it's going to be a lot of things. We're in the streets, man. We're boots on the ground in Harlem and the Bronx. We'd love to support you guys any way we can, man. And just thank you, brother.
And we're gonna see you. We're gonna see you before the year is out because we're gonna do something up there in Harlem to celebrate.
Anything we could do, brother.
All I ask for is give me 7 days notice so I could get the pants out. I could get the lemon peppers out. You know, I got to coordinate now. You got to coordinate. We can't show up just any old way now. We're gonna show up.
I'll give you enough time.
That's all I ask for.
This has been fun, guys. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you bringing me on your podcast and giving me an opportunity to talk about things that are near and dear to my heart.
Absolutely.
It was a pleasure.
Before you go, there's going to be a lot of people that want to reach out to you, that might want to get in contact with you. Would you mind giving the audience and the listeners the easiest way to get in contact with you if people are looking to either work with you or maybe ask for a mentorship from you? I don't know if you actually do that or just in general, if they would like to get in contact with you. Can you let the audience know?
You know what? Let me give you our website. It's www.industrial-bank.com. Industrial-bank.com. You go to our website, then there's other ways you can get in touch with us and reach us.
That's a great website.
Yep. Yeah, we're gonna put it up for you right now.
For everybody in the chat, it's coming up right now. We're gonna leave it on the screen. But once again, brother, thank you, man. Listening, man. It was a great episode. Now, brother, it's been real, man. I just love this conversation. It's inspiring, brother, because like I said, you off camera. There's a lot of people that didn't know there was a Doyle Mitchell that existed. They didn't know the bank was there. Now they're gonna walk past Harlem and be like, oh, that's where Jarrett and Chad was. Let me see what's going on. It's gonna change something.
382 125th Street.
There it is.
East side or west side?
West
side. All right,
that's 125th. Yeah, we're gonna be moving next year, but we're not gonna be moving far.
There you go.
Not gonna be moving far. We're gonna stay right there in Harlem, probably within a mile of where we are now. But right now we're at 382 West 125th.
We need you in the Bronx. The Bronx is burning like 73. we need you back.
Love it. Listen, I think this has just been a phenomenal episode, ladies and gentlemen. You know, this is what we created the platform for. We hope for all our audio listeners only, we hope that you are getting the value from this. Please do your research. Please listen to these guests. They're giving you invaluable information for free. Right? So now you have absolutely no excuse if you don't take that information and put it into action, right? What we got coming up next week?
We got fan appreciation October 1st, y'all. So for any black business or any business general that want to come rock with us, tell their story, share your brand, promote your brand, this is the opportunity to do so. Get a couple of messages and have fun with us. On October 3rd, Warren Zenner, the CEO of CRO Collective. So if you want to know how to grow your business, he's the Chief Revenue Officer for billion-dollar brands such as Harvest, which is a big agency. He's going to give us the tips and tricks. And then after that, October 8th, we got Force MDs. We're going to play Tender Love on the joint. Force MDs. We got the whole group pulling up October 8th. And then October 10th, we've got Greg Oden, former #1 pick. And then a week after that, we will be in Black Week. We're sponsored by Black Week. We will be talking to Shannon Sharp, Jonathan Mendenhall, Victor Cruz. We will be with Black Excellence, and we're going to cover it all only the way More Than a Title can.
The current state of inclusion in this space is bullshit. Black Week is a place where we can start to demystify Black ownership, Black wealth building, and our place in changing the narrative of advertising.
The objective of Black Week is to create a platform for the conversation.
I'm super excited to just say what we say in the group chat because we are the only ones in the way of what we can get to.
The current state.
I messed the wrong button. I pressed it by mistake.
It's all good. No, it's all good. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of Morning the Title. Once again, we appreciate you guys for coming out. You heard Doyle Mitchell's story. You heard what he said. His family started it. They didn't groom him exactly to be in the business, but they put key components in position for him to be able to take advantage of those opportunities. And then if he wanted it, put himself into position. But he didn't get there by just being handed the key. He worked hard. He educated himself. Further reinforcing what we always say, the dream is free, but the hustle, well, that's sold separately. Until next week, we out of here.